Okay. We're going to call the Town of Bay Harbor Islands regular council meeting to order at 7:24 p.m. No, we did the Pledge of Allegiance already. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Yaffe.
Here.
And Councilmember Chakoshy is not here tonight. Councilmember Sauber.
Here.
Councilmember Reed. Here. Councilmember Fuller.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bruder. Mayor Leonard.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great. Mr. Short, you're up.
No, I'm actually going to, this is
gonna
my
do it?
item.
Oh, you're right, okay.
If it was up to Alan, he would never put this on. I kind of forced this, and it's something I happily do. Alan's with us 22 years, and I know the last 10 years that I've been here, but certainly, well, probably the 20 years, the 10 years or 12 years prior to that, Alan has managed to get this award every year. It's no question that every year that I've been here, we finish under budget and have a good financial rating from our auditors, and that's not by accident. He's a very thorough financial director. We look to him often for help and discussion of any item. He's a real asset to the town, and we're lucky to have him. I hope he stays a lot longer. And Alan, would you come on up? I would give him another certificate, but it would just crowd the wall. I'm just really here to shake his hand and thank him, and if anybody here from the council wants to take a picture, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, how many years has this been, Alan, that we've gone in?
It's the 20th consecutive year we've had.
20 years.
And I want to thank the town manager certainly for his support and confidence. It helped me do my job very well, and also the council. I've known many of you more years than either of us care to remember, and I appreciate all the trust and confidence.
Yeah, let's all go to 20 consecutive years.
Take another picture after.
Yeah, we're gonna, do we have some fake diploma to hold up?
We can Photoshop that. We have the technology.
All right. Do you have a copy?
It's in there.
When would you hold up something?
Yeah.
Come on, squeeze in a little bit. Come on, I'm gonna end up on page 3.
All right. 3, 1, 2, and 3, one more. Very nice. Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alan, come on. Yeah, let me tell you.
All right, request for withdrawals, deferments, future agenda items.
Mayor, I'd like to ask that item 16 be withdrawn. Item 16 was a item where the council was going to consider a construction site where they were going to use a houseboat or a floating... That's all.
All right, anything else?
Sorry.
That's it for me.
Okay.
5.
5E and F, I want to pull off the consent.
You want 5,
Couple corrections.
5E,
and F.
and F.
That's correct, Rachel.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
But you're still on requests for future agenda items, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like a future item to discuss recognition for former council member Doris Morano. I thought that we might have some place in the park that was proposed for the West Island, but since that's not coming to fruition, maybe we can brainstorm another location.
To the bench.
A bench or something in recognition. Not only was she a council member, for a little more than a year, but she was involved in the town and the school for decades, so.
Just for her, but or for other former council members that have passed?
I'm always open to
Why don't
that.
we talk about it all at the same time?
Right at the, on an agenda item next month.
So an agenda item for former council members that have passed.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right, moving on. Town manager's report.
Mayor, I'll be brief. I'm glad to report that we received $100,000 for the community center grant. We've received that, and we filed and got it on time.
Check.
We had our winter camp concluded. We had a lot of very positive reviews. I know Regina's here, if you want to just say anything about it. It was our first one in the community center, so this was the first class, if you want to say that. And I got a lot of really nice emails about how nice
How many kids do we have?
I think 20 to 25. You want to? 22. I was close. I had 23 written. For the first year. I'm sure it'll expand next year. The other thing, just the update on the 1111 King Concourse parking lot. I know we had met with them at council direction and made an offer. They were looking for more money than I think we were willing to go. I made an offer to them. It actually expired. It had an expiration, which it did. I haven't heard anything back from them. However, the owners that are now the new owners of the Taplin property are considering some offer or some kind of project that would, I think, benefit the town. I've not heard back from them. They're running numbers on what they're going to do. So I really don't have much more to report other than we made an offer. I'd still, even if they accepted, it would have to come back to the council, and right now I have nothing to really bring forward.
Okay, great.
Can I just ask
Yeah,
you
go
two
ahead.
questions? I'm sorry. Since the Taplins bought all that property, they have graciously allowed us to put the farmer's market back on their property on the corner of King Concourse on that little piece. I know that they are, or they might be interested in selling or doing something with that property with us. Ron, is
Oh, yeah.
the council interested in pursuing that so that we can have a place for,
I think that's still part of what I'm expecting back from the that we would possibly pick up that piece of property and get some other field for that.
I'd also like if you just do a follow-up call with them and just see what the status is, because the longer it floats out there, even though it's expired, the offer is expired for the main property, the less likely anything's going to happen. Let's just see what's going on and, leave it up to you to see where we can go.
And also, are we going to expand the community center hours? I have, some people want to know if we're going to be opening on Sundays. I mean, some people cannot.
Right now, we hadn't considered that only because we just wanted to kind of get up and running. We really haven't had a first even full day. I mean, school has been out kind of, so we expect the programming to fully start this week. At the wish of the council, there would be, if we went to a Sunday opening, we would have to add probably some personnel, at least one full-timer and maybe, a part-timer.
That's something, I mean, when we
I
discussed...
have no problem doing it, and I just until we got up and running and let our program cycle through, I think we've been very smart in that we usually put programming that people ask for and they want. So, we have a lot of things here in the offering. I think you've seen the brochure. People ask us, when they've asked us to do things, usually we see if there's interest, and if we get enough people to sign up, we run a program. And if it's good, it stays, and if it's not, it dies.
I got a couple quick things. One, I just want to follow up. JC, when I was there with you, right before we opened as well, we talked about the fact of the need to add electric doors for ADA compliance. You're working on that to make sure? Okay, because I want to make sure we have, so handicap access is available for the community.
In the meantime, I've instructed staff
To open, okay, but as long as we have that coming to make sure we're ADA compatible. Second, also, I had some residents that approached me that, they love the community center. However, one little thing that they're asking for, and this should be pretty simple, and I don't remember if I talked to you about it yet or not, the tables in the card room, or the area where they want to play cards, for a lot of the elderly card players, their tables are too big. They just want a couple smaller ones that they can actually reach, that are a little more square, but a little smaller so they can actually reach across.
We've already talked to Regine to get the little card tables that they use.
Perfect, that's all I wanted to make sure. Thanks.
I have a question about usage. Like, if some resident wanted to have a meeting, maybe like a little condo wanted to, is there any provision to block, rent, or use the room for community purpose, kind of like the parks?
Well, quite frankly, no, and I have, there again, it's not that we wouldn't do it, it's just we didn't think about it. I don't think there would be anything preventing us, to charge a slight fee in case it was after hours or something like that, if someone had to be there. I think occasionally we let people use this building occasionally to have a meeting, so,
I think it's a good idea, but what I would say, if you don't mind me just saying, let's go a couple more weeks just to work out the last few kinks, and then I think it's a good idea to set up a program that we can allow for rental after hours for community use.
Right, and depending on what it was, if it was a real Bay Harbor community use, then it might be gratis or rental or just a deposit, but I'd like to look at some kind of a structure for that.
it's hard to know until you actually have these, specific requests, because, like, you could have a lot of people come, have a big event, and then, of course, you'd have to have more personnel there, to staff it.
It's fine, but...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Some people also ask for birthday parties, for example.
Yeah, but that's fine. It's part of the community. It's a community center. But, we could put something into the newsletter, not yet, but not too long from now, just saying it's available for potential rental, et cetera, for residents.
All right.
I think it's a good idea.
All right, so we're going to start with if there's no more questions for the manager, we're going to start with the council reports. Start with you, Josh.
Okay, I'll try and make it quick. First of all, happy and healthy New Year to everybody. Welcome back. For those of you who are on vacation from the holidays. I attended the snow day. First of all, fantastic job. You guys all did a great job, and it was a nice, lot of extra stuff here. The community center opening as well. Again, great program. Community center looks fantastic. And I also attended since we've been 2 months, Florida League of Cities meetings as well. Okay.
I also attended the snow day. That was a great event. I couldn't believe the amount of people that were there, and I know that we're going to have to do some planning for next year or years in the future if that property where we hold it is in fact redeveloped. The community center is fantastic. I think that the town and all of you did a really great job in planning and getting it opened, and I've only heard really good comments from members of the community about it. Very much appreciate it. So I thank you all. And in December, I did attend the Florida League of Cities final committee meetings for the policy committees and establishing the policies that where members, elected officials and others who want to travel to Tallahassee can use in meeting with legislators to talk about the priorities of the league. And that's it.
I also attended Snow Day. It was fantastic. I want to thank Bridget for all her hard work in coordinating this event, and Regine also for helping her in this event. I thought it was fantastic, and it's growing. I also want to let you know that the farmers market is coming back. So it should be back hopefully by next week, if not the following week. I also am having a conversation with the school and the school board about the overcrowdedness of our school and what we can do to maybe alleviate it, and talk to them about when we're going to start the construction of the building over the basketball courts.
Okay. All right. Kelly?
In addition to the opening of the community center, which is lovely, I went to a great event that was put on by our police department. And it was the fundraiser in December for Officer Sullivan. Many of us are aware that she's battling a very serious disease. And it was in Hollywood at a restaurant there. And it was a wonderful event. There was law enforcement from basically all over the state, some of her former colleagues. And I love to see that, because I love to see not only when we recognize the employees, but when they, get together as a family and they support one another. I think it's very, very important. And just to share with you, since I don't think any of you were there, on the way in, a strange thing happened. And one of our officers had to jump into action, ran after someone who just either stole or robbed a wallet. I saw part of this, and this is Officer Ledreau, who's a very new officer, and apparently this is not the only time he's done this. Apparently he's taken action outside the city. So I actually watched him only for a split second because he's probably, one of the fastest men I've ever seen wearing all the gear that you have to wear. And it was picture perfect, and, it was basically an assist to the Hollywood Police Department, and I'm sure he didn't intend to do that on the way to recognize his colleague. But I just wanted to say that, we approved the take-home cars, and we have officers from all over the place coming through our city, and our officers going through other cities. We have agreements with other cities, and I think it just makes our entire community safer. He happened to be in uniform, so I think he was mistaken for a Hollywood guy, and there was a chase and all that kind of stuff. But it's really good to see, and I think it's an attest to the quality officers that we're hiring, and, it all just went well. And I did send the manager and the chief a kudos today, but I'm sure it won't be the last time that we'll see kudos about our police department. So thank you, Captain. Please relay. Also, now that the community center is open, I'm very excited, after talking to the manager today, to hear that we will finally have a nice crime prevention program, because now that we have that space, even though we had this one, it's something that we've really been wanting to have for a long time. The citizens have been asking for it, and it just, like I mentioned, stuff happens all the time, so it's very important. And lastly, we were given a packet late today. Did everyone receive a packet from the manager? There were two parts to it.
Can I just hold it up for a minute, because I'm not sure what you're talking about.
There's one part that was some information about the electrical, and then another part about landscape, and maybe, some of the elements of the community enhancement program. I think that's why we're seeing some people here blast from the past to come and defend the infrastructure. I think, after the last meeting in November, when it just, it was kind of a final straw for me, and the fact that I just don't feel like we are following the procurement code that we have. There are little loopholes in there. We have it all spelled out, and then there are a couple of phrases like when practical, and that's up to agreement or disagreement. But I think it's time that we really take this, whole code out of an agenda and the items, and have a special meeting in the very near future to strictly talk about procurement. And we all get the weekly reports and the monthly reports, and we see all the checks that are written, and I have a lot of questions. And I just picked one company, which happened to be Tri-City Electric, and I asked Mr. Short for some information about it, and I think there are a lot of unanswered questions. And I think even though, for example, here's, just one, whether this work is inspected, permitted, checked and all that, whether the people that we have checking them are necessarily licensed, and it's going to require a lot more time than just talking about it at each item. So I would like to make a motion that we have a special meeting as soon as possible to talk about procurement, and specifically just this one example, because after we retroactively approved a $38,000 expense, we sort of cured it. I'm not saying that was illegally done, but I have serious concerns about the appropriateness and how we are complying or not complying with our existing code. And if we're not, then maybe we should change it.
I really, I will make this offer, Kelly, if you have any questions about the code or how we follow it. I've been here 10 years. I follow the code as it is written. Every year we budget for expenses. As you know, you sit into a workshop, 2 public hearings, and you usually come and sit with myself, Alan Short, and sometimes JC, and go over all expenditures. As I develop the budget, we usually look at the money that we spent in the prior years, and make adjustments as necessary, and that doesn't mean that if we go over that, the budget is an estimate, and we try to stay with it as best we can. I asked Alan Short before the meeting, I said, I know that we usually are under budget every year. He did a quick spreadsheet for me. I have never had a budget where we didn't have less than $250,000 returned to the town, and in some instances, almost $1 million. That's not by accident, and that's not by following our procurement procedures. For you to make a blanket statement like that without coming to me first and asking me specific questions based on a thumbnail review of a printout from the finance office, I think is, in my opinion, unprofessional. I have had, in 10 years, many different council members. If anybody has had an issue or a question, as you're questioning my ethics now, if you have any question, they have come to me. They've asked me about expenses. Colonel Weinstein was great for that. We would pull out the backup. We would have Alan sit there, and we would go through it. I'm not saying that I had full agreement every time I sat down with a council member, but there wasn't a time that I couldn't explain an expenditure logically, with common sense, and what I think this council would expect from me. I'll give you a perfect example. 98th Street Park this year was not an expense I planned on. The council approved the installation of field turf, which is the grass that was installed. When that project was started, it was recommended after they showed up on site that if we moved the irrigation controller panel that was inside the fence line of the original park, we could increase the size of the park a little bit and protect the controller. It was in the best interest of the town. I approved that expenditure. About 3 weeks later, as the ground crew came in and started peeling off the dirt, we found that an electric line that was feeding the splash pad pumps ran underneath the field. When it was regular grass, it really wasn't a problem, because you can dig up grass and plant grass back. They recommended strongly that any infrastructure that we might have to get to in the future, it would be in our best interest to move it out of the field. Again, I think that was a common sense recommendation, and as your manager, I thought that was a good idea. At the last, about 2 weeks later, it was recommended by staff that we had several people who were using Scott Winters Park for parties. That happens all the time. They all asked, is there any way that we have electric or an outlet at the rear pavilion where we run our music and we like to have things? While the field was ripped up, I approved that expenditure also. 3 common sense things, all of them individually, well less than $10,000. Collectively, they were more than $10,000 by a few bucks. I feel that is the kind of decisions that you rely on me to make in the best interest of the town. Now, before I go any further, Tri-City Electric has been our electrical service provider for almost 30 years, and there's only a reason why you're around for 30 years. You do a good job, you're reliable, and you're very well priced. In 2011, 4 years after I started as manager, I went out to bid and got 7 separate contracting electrical firms to give me bids on services. And Tri-City Electric is a time and materials bid. I mean, it's a service contract. Time and materials. Tri-City in 2011 blew everybody away, in my opinion. We had differences from $10 to $150. That is the kind, that is a comparison, and that is why they're still here. I point to their reliability. 2 years ago, we recognized Tri-City Electric and their electrician, Mike Best, for being somebody you could pick up a phone and call at any hour of the night when the bridge is stuck in an opposition, and in 20 minutes to a half hour, he is on the site. Not charging me for 4 hours of work, charging me for the time that he's there. He's been assigned, Tri-City has been, I said, for 30 years. This particular electrician has been here since 1994. In the code, it says anybody that has a open-ended services agreement. The town manager can assign work or let regular electric work, which is, in my opinion, running wire, putting in outlets, moving a panel, moving an irrigation panel, hanging an electric panel. Those are normal electric services, charges. In April this year, I brought a project to this council that I felt was outside the normal electrical job that I would assign to Tri-City Electric. If you remember, it was moving the overhead light poles on the causeway where the old toll plaza used to be. We moved them out, we bought new poles. I went to bid for that job. Tri-City Electric was the lowest. They were around $12,000. The next nearest person was just shy of 20. The next nearest person was just shy of 30. You approved the Tri-City Electric. I am not opposed to bidding things out, but if you read the code, and I'll give the code, I love an interpretation, but... Okay.
I have it.
Excuse me, no.
Oh, Jay,
Sorry. Yeah, let me just raise a procedural objection to this. At the beginning of the meeting, we started off with requests for withdrawals, deferments, and future agenda items. And obviously, this might be a future agenda item and not an item for this evening because it hasn't been agended and there's been no notice that we were going to discuss this. And then, of course, under council reports, if anybody bothered to read the agenda, it says each council member will be afforded 2 minutes to make their reports, and we're probably, 20 minutes into this discussion at this point. So I'm always in favor of, having thorough and open discussions about any issues, whether it's procurement or, the manager's authority and so forth, but not doing it when it's not agended. And while it's nice to see Bruce, to talk about community enhancements and the issues with community enhancements, if we're going to do that, it should be at a meeting where it's agended and not have, Bruce and other people, the gentleman who's also here, come to speak with us about an issue that's not on the agenda. So I don't have an objection to, arranging a council
I
meeting.
can answer that.
But I don't think that it's really appropriate to be going into this whole conversation.
Well, first of all, during that segment you mentioned, withdrawal, deferments, and future items, Josh mentioned the consent agenda. We're close here. And I actually thought that would be an appropriate time to ask you all for a meeting because it requires 2 of us to hold the meeting, right? Just according to our code, 2 of us can call a meeting, and then a quorum comes later. So we recently had a meeting to see if council members could get insurance benefits, and it was arranged within 3 days. And I don't know how, if it was a coincidence, but in the event that there was not going to be a coincidence, because I didn't think there was a potential for that, at least that meeting, it had been mentioned before, so it was likely that 2 people might say, okay, let's do this. So I'm coming to you in the utmost of transparency because I've been looking into this for a while. I'm not a professional auditor. We're having one, actually I think they started yesterday, but they're not looking at this kind of thing. It's limited. And I want to include you. I want to share with you my thoughts and some of these ideas. A, because it's the right thing to do and to be transparent, and B, because the 5 of you there with your experience on this council and your professional experience, I think, that you should all be involved, and I hope that you get behind this. And Ron, I'm very sorry.
I'm sorry, Kelly, but you missed my point. I said if you want to have a meeting,
Okay.
ask the manager to schedule a meeting, and we'll have a meeting.
You want
to have a meeting?
But I want to address what Ron just said now also. There's business and there's personal. And Ron, I really wish you wouldn't take this personally, okay? And you called me unprofessional, and I think I'm doing my job. I think, and like a few of the things that you said here actually just speak further to the point that you've decided that, many times you ignore the code because you think it's the
Could you
right
cite
thing to do.
specific examples?
Guys, I think we're getting back on the
You
agenda.
just
Bob
said
said
them.
before. If you want
Okay,
to,
well, will anybody here second a motion to call for the special meeting in the very
Why
near
can't
future?
it just be an agenda item?
Yeah.
Why
I
can't
have
it
no
just be
problem
an
talking about an agenda item. I think it's the right
agenda
thing.
item? I don't think it necessitates
We'll talk
a...
about it. I think it's fine.
Okay, so can we go back then to future agenda items? And
You've asked for it, so
I've asked for it. I wanted to have a meeting before the next meeting. I thought this might require an hour or more, so it might be best served as a special meeting. So if one of you will...
I don't see why this can't just be an agenda item on the next council meeting.
You know what, if you want a special council
I'm
meeting, we had a
fine.
special council meeting on
That's
insurance,
fine.
that's fine.
Fine.
I mean, arrange it, I'm not, anybody can ask for a special council
Right.
meeting, I'm not gonna...
All right, Marlene, can you, after this meeting, if you just poll the council and see what dates are available? Okay, all right, very good.
But I also like to know beforehand any documentation so that we come to that meeting knowing exactly what we're...
Actually, I have two documents. One of them was...
Well, why don't we, wait, no, not tonight.
Well, I have a copy from Arlene and...
Give it to
No,
me.
no, what I'm saying is that before we have that meeting that we're agreeing to, I would like an agenda with, backup information so that when we get there, we're not cold turkey.
Right.
And that we
So we can read it
understand what we're talking about, so that...
Right, we get our agenda like 5 days before a meeting, so
Yeah.
whenever this is, we would expect to have, a reasonable period of time to review whatever materials there
All
are.
right, Isaac?
I too attended the Florida League of Cities legislative conference, and I sat on the legislative committee that actually approved and put into record the recommendations from Bob's committee amongst the other several committees that proffered their legislative agenda items. And I also attended at the same session a board of directors meeting for the Florida League of Cities, and it was, quite a productive meeting. That was it. And I did not get to go to the snow day because I requested of staff that I be allowed to bring my snowboard, and they said no.
I'll be brief. I also attended the snow day. I have to admit, this year's snow day was the largest ever. We've never had so many residents, so many people, so many children participate in the snow day. It was absolutely incredible. Also attended the opening of our community center, and it is absolutely beautiful. I have to admit, it came out better than I thought it would, and you don't normally hear that for a government project. It looks absolutely beautiful. It really does, and thank staff for helping to make that happen. Also, unfortunately, I was not able to attend the fundraiser. I did make a donation for Officer Sullivan, but unfortunately I had a close personal event that conflicted. But I will say that we all are thinking of Officer Sullivan. I remember when she was hired, and she's the first officer to win the Leo Award for the town. And we've had two officers that have had that received that award. And for a small town like Bay Harbor to have two is actually, very impressive, but she is the first. And she actually saved the lives of several individuals as they were drowning in the water, and she was on our police boat one day, and she heard the call and saved their lives. And, we should always remember that. That being said, Happy New Year, and we're going to move on with public comment. All right, first we have Mrs. Newhut.
Hi, Frances Newhut, 1060 Kane Concourse. In reference to the November 14, 2016 Town Council meeting, besides receiving on January 4, 2017, a notice from the Miami-Dade Ethics Commission on, and I quote, whether attorney Amy Huber engaged in lobbying in Bay Harbor Islands on behalf of her client, Church by the Sea, without properly registering. I want to refer to number one, and that is why had council amended the elimination of ordinance section 23-58.1 of religious institutions requiring a council public hearing, not what we had tonight, which was an appeal. When tax-exempt Church by the Sea is allegedly going to be allowed spot zoning. Previously, another religious institution, Nest 26 Incorporated, had been required a council public hearing. to allow the usages of religious services, learning, and praying on the second floor of Bank of America, which is at 1108 King Concourse. Another issue on that date was number 2, which was why had council amended religious institutions the right to put primary signs? Ordinance section 17-20, and for tax-exempt Church by the Sea on their site plan to be allowed both a very large cross and primary signs on the ground floor of the town's business district. When previously, council approved a learning center usage for Ocean Reef Academy that allegedly changed their business tax receipt to allow for a preschool primary sign and changed the usage to a place of a public assembly on the ground floor of the town's business district. Another issue I have, and I still have not received from the town clerk, is the business tax receipt on one of our tenants who is very close, for 2 years, has had a packaged liquor store. And I have written to council, I have written to the town clerk to please put on their business tax receipt that they are a packaged liquor store as well as a restaurant. And they didn't, and you didn't do it. And the state for 2 years, and they've been operating for 2 years with that license. And it can't be taken away now, it's grandfathered in. But the point I'm trying to make is there's a church not too far away from there now that's probably going to be approved. But we didn't talk about usages. And some of the usages that will be in this Church by the Sea happen to be AA, Drug Unanimous, whatever these programs are. And they should have been required a variance and a public hearing by you people before the Church by the Sea had an appeal. This was not done.
Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome, Jordan.
Yeah.
But I hope you will take this into account, and we still are waiting for his business tax receipt. And this is an issue.
All right, good
And
night.
Mr. Sherman, one more question.
No.
Mr.
You're done.
Sherman, I find that you're not following the rules of
Fran,
the
please.
distances between
Fran,
Officer,
liquor
Fran,
stores.
Could you please?
Fran,
I'm
please.
sorry.
Isaac, I would appreciate if you could stay. Yeah.
All right, Jay. Happy New Year.
I mean, what am I doing that's so harmful to this council that's not listening?
All right, Jay.
Jay Meiselman, 10321 East Broadview Drive. I am very familiar with what Kelly brought up because I was sent the documentation. I'm listening to Ron and I'm like not understanding quite the fact that he comes in below budget means you don't have to bid out the work. One has nothing to do with the other. It's his job to bring it in under budget, if at all reasonably possible, with the best work possible. But apparently, over the last 3 years, almost $600,000 in time and material work has been given to the same subcontractor. There are invoices that have been approved for $9,999.99. Now, you don't have to be an auditor to say, that doesn't seem right. And this evening alone, Ron, our town manager, said he was insulted by Kelly, but said he did 3 pieces of work at the park that needed to be done. And yes, the 3 pieces of work exceeded $10,000. One, how come nothing is ever done beforehand that it's such an emergency that you can't put it out to bid? Why don't we have 3 electrical contractors that we can spin the wheel and any one of them gets it? Why are we married to one? If that guy, something should happen to him, the information that he knows is completely lost. But what wasn't said correctly tonight was that open-end contracts and agreements, a procurement for an indefinite quantity of goods and services, open-ended procurement, an amount reasonably expected to exceed $10,000 within a fiscal year is subject to competitive bidding requirements enumerated in this section. It's simple. We did 148 service orders with the same company. Some months we spent $20,000. In 1 month we even spent $39,000. And you're telling me nobody could bid that work? And since 2011, nobody's put out to bid an annual procurement? That's what's wrong. I have no issue if the contractor is a more expensive contractor, but he's the best guy for the job. But there needs to be some control. And you can't break every invoice down so the invoices add up to less than what they're supposed to. And you can't tell me if you're going to have an elevator repair that you make a partial payment of $5,000 and then a final payment of $3,000. It doesn't work that way in government. I want to run my business that way, that's fine. But this is our money, there's no question whether the work had to be done, not even questioning that. The question is, how can you just say almost 6 years ago, we went out and got prices from 6 guys, and we've used them ever since? How is that?
All right.
Okay.
All right, thank you for your comments. Victor Meyer.
Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street. Frankly, I take issue that getting $1 million back from your budget is something good. That's telling me that your whole budgeting process is flawed when $1 million, on this total town budget is coming back to you. They are not budgeting correctly. So I have said on numerous occasions, and we can go back and watch the tape, for the 3 years that I've been coming here, complaining about the lack of bids, bid processes, and items like that associated with the bidding. And I saw the videotape of the last meeting, which I left after, the first half hour, so I saw the rest of it. And I saw, the discussion regarding the $38,000 spent at the community center, for the electrical work. That was all done at the last minute because we needed to save the money to get the grant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was all acknowledged by everybody, yeah, we pay too much for it, but we really had no choice, to do that. And that is, par for the course and typical of the type of procurement that I've been seeing over the years. We had, the contracts, for the air conditioning systems here that were done no bid, and then you had to go back and redo the bids and things of that sort. Everything gets, tagged as an emergency, as a last-minute item or issue. And I think that this is a broader issue that we need to look at. The other thing that I saw in that meeting, frankly, was just a very unprofessional, discourteous, and disconcerting exchange between our mayor and one of our citizens. And frankly, I think that there should be an apology, coming, from our top elected official, our designated mayor, for the treatment of one of our citizens at that meeting. I will also point out, I went to the community center. I think it is wonderful. I really like it. I don't like the library at all. It's not really a library. It's like a little daycare center. The bookshelves, you have as much shelving really as this dais, and that's it. There's no library really as far as books and library is concerned. You have a big table in the back where kids are playing a map game, that makes all kinds of noise and stuff like that. It's more like a daycare center than a library, and frankly, I'm really disappointed. I understand that, this was the square footage, but I really didn't envision that there would be such a limited scope with respect to that library. Thank you.
Captain Kennedy.
I'm going to try and keep my Irish down. First of all, Ron, I know you. You and I have had our ups and downs, but you're a straight shooter. And anytime I had a problem, I came straight to you, and we toughed it out. And I don't ever doubt anything about you. Look at this town. Look what you've done to it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Thank you. JC, kudos to you. And there's the staff, Regine. Very, very good work. The community center, with all due respect, Victor, I'm sorry. Kids are in there enjoying themselves, reading books. It is really a good place. We're only just scratching the surface. We're trying to iron out the kinks. There's going to be some amazing things happening, but we can't talk about it now. Is this going to work out?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because I'm coming up for Parks and Rec. But I just want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, and good things I want to thank Linda Zilba for giving us the nativity on the Cane Concourse. She gave $398 for that, so I want to thank her for that. Thank you.
Okay, and no more public comment? All right. Having none, we're going to go over to committee reports, Parks and Rec. Yeah.
Anything want to come, please? She's my partner in crime. Hi, Regine.
Hi.
And J.C. My amazing team of the Parks and Recreation Committee has made some suggestions for your review. And I have discussed it with J.C. and with Regine, and we're all unanimous in recommendations. Maybe at the next council meeting that you gentlemen and ladies will agree. Number one, a bus stop, a community bus stop for the seniors, so they'll know where the bus stops.
She's written bus stop signs.
Bus stop sign, thank you.
Pages on our
Because they don't know where the bus is sometimes, so we decided as unanimously, and JC had already thought about it, but we just pushed them a little. So, we all came up with a design, and it would, I guess next month you'll show it, JC. That was one. And then another one we came up with unanimously is that the police and the citizens have a coffee meeting once a month, so that the cops get to know the people and the seniors and how to protect their houses, fraud, whatever. Surfside does it very well, so I picked it up from Surfside at Starbucks. Sorry? Coffee with the cops. Thank you, J.C. So I would like it, when we can budget it, maybe $5, start at the bakery maybe, and at the concourse, eventually take it into our community center. But I think they'll get to know, the cops will get to know the citizens, and they can give good advice, and if that's something that you would consider for the next meeting, I would appreciate it. And then for the waves, let's have a sports section for the footballers and for the volleyball and for the cheerleaders, because I never see that in the newsway. We see odds and ends, but maybe a sports page, because I'll tell you, they're really doing an amazing job over at the after-school programs. So I'd like to see that done. And most of all, I'd like to thank Regine, JC, our city manager, cooperation. Anytime we ask for something, there's never a question that they don't answer. And we have some surprises coming up, but we can't talk about it now. But hopefully, we can come back again. But these 3 items, I would really like you to consider. I have one here highlighted, Doris Morano, a bench, whatever, a sign, whatever. I'm not fussy about it, but just to honor her, because she was on the Parks and Rec for quite some time, and of course she was a council person. So I would like to take that into consideration too. And thank you. And again, thanks, Regine. We're partners. We work as a team. Thank you. And thanks to my committee. They're really, really, really good. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right,
While we're talking about committee reports, I talked to the manager earlier, and I requested once again that we start holding disaster preparedness committees. They have not met since Colonel Weinstein left the town, and he agreed, and I'd like them to have the focus of sea level rise. There's a lot of information out there about hurricane preparedness, but this is really important, and we talked about once, doing a regular report on it, but I think they're the ones that should look at it. And I'd also like us to revisit council members on committees. I think they could use the guidance. Not all of them, but some of them, I think, flounder without it. And then whatever happened to the idea of the business district committee? We talked about
No
it.
interest.
Did we advertise it?
Oh, yeah, repeatedly.
Can we advertise again? Because I have two people who approached me about it. One who owns a business here and a new arrival who has a thriving business but lives here.
I'm not opposed to advertising, but I think if you have people, in the business community or know people in the business community who are interested in doing that, then sort of let them take the lead in
Okay.
talking to other business people and come together, to council with a group of people that
That's a
are
good
interested in
idea.
doing it. Because I don't think that the advertisements are always very effective, because they have not brought people forward who wanted to participate.
It brought a couple of people, but once they understand that this is a committee that has to meet and regularly and the commitment,
Yeah.
they backed out, basically.
Right, so, because we've had over the years, I think you've seen, that some members of the business community come forward and say, they want to have a committee, and I think that's great, but they're the ones who have to really be the leaders of that.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate that the town council's not on
I'm
that.
sorry for interrupting, but they don't speak with a unified voice.
No, they don't.
They are incredibly
No, but
fractured.
What I'm talking about, like one property owner who asked me if we had a committee, and then a resident who just moved here, who has a great restaurant outside the city, but wants to, help. So there's really, I totally agree with you. That's a problem.
It's a problem.
But, okay, so I will steer them to Marlene.
Right. And in terms of the disaster preparedness committee, are there members of that committee? And what?
I wanted
There
to
were.
mention that there's only 2 left.
Well, because they never met. They never met.
They've resigned over the years.
Because
They've
there
met
was no
very
meetings.
seldom, but they haven't in a long time.
That's a committee that really depended on the council member, the environmental committee also. Parks and Recreation has been rolling, it had a lot of momentum, but I just think it's a shame.
But I'm just saying that one probably needs to be re-advertised, so people
What
want to
about
make
the
a committee.
environmental impact committee? Are there people on that?
No, they resigned too. They have,
Zero people left on
the
it?
chairperson said for now,
They're
there's not enough.
in suspension, a
Right.
self-imposed suspension.
Okay, so what do you say?
But with disaster preparedness, here's what happened, is the colonel was the chair of it, and he left the council, he was no longer on it, so there was nobody to call the meeting. So,
So re-advertise it then and see if we can get people who are interested in
And
serving.
we'll try and see what we can say. And I would suggest temporarily.
Environmental doesn't want to meet.
committees, 'cause
There was enough people, but they don't want to meet.
The topic of conversation is sea level
different
rise.
story.
I would say, environment, that's an environmental thing, and then
Yeah.
it's a disaster thing, all really combined.
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like-
Right, then you'll get more people to participate if they can talk about the
Okay,
different
sounds
issues.
good.
All right, we're going to do the consent agenda, and then I'd like to pull one item out of order, item number 17. So we're just going to do the consent agenda, with the exception of 5E and 5F.
I move it.
All right, I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion second. Poll vote, Madam Clerk?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you were...
Everything on the consent agenda except 5E and F. Need a motion and a second.
Councilman Fuller,
4.
Councilman Breed,
4.
Councilmember Sauber,
4.
Councilmember Yaffe,
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder,
4.
Mayor Leonard.
4.
Unanimous.
E and F, Josh and Keith.
Yeah, just 2 quick corrections. On 5E, page, it's only page 2. It says that I had said that I think we should put them on the ballot. I wasn't the one who stated to put them on the ballot. I had said that we should consider providing the benefits to the others, but I wasn't the one. Somebody else had typed up and said about the ballot. So if you can correct that. And then also on 5F, if you go to page 6, item 9, I was also on that as far, Mayor Leonard and I both had requested that change. We should have both our names on it. That's it.
I have some changes to that agenda also.
Why don't we all, because I have a few, why don't we all
Okay, go
just
ahead.
email them to Alba
Okay.
and then...
We'll bring it up next meeting. Okay.
Well, mine, I would really just like to mention is on page 9 of November 14th, there was a vote that's listed as unanimous, and I went back and looked, I did not vote on that, which was item 17. And then it's sort of pertinent,
You didn't vote on it. Did you vote?
I voted against it. I did not vote for it. Correct. And also on page 8 of November 14th, item number 16 is the one that we talked about, the $38,000 for wire advice for the wiring and, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And I have to say that there was a lot of very relevant discussion to procurement again, and the only thing that's listed there is a very brief comment by John Corral, and then the motion and the vote. I really think that more of the details of that, like the fact that the work was already done, like I made a very specific comment to please in the future comply with the code, and the fact that there were not the 3 bids. Very simple. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but don't you think that that is the essence of some of the important commentary that was made?
Well, I think we're going to have that discussion at our next
Well,
meeting.
but I want
I think in general, because our minutes are very, just broad. I mean, we had a discussion about such and such, but it doesn't mean you can't ask for additional language. That's all
Well,
I'm saying.
I mean,
But typically, we're not going to have pages and pages and pages.
of course not, but I think,
But so add it.
yeah, please go back and
Why don't you
look
just
at it
send her an
again for
email?
yourself. Well, I don't want to, I don't want to micromanage, but those 3 that I just mentioned,
Yeah, kind of like, the reason we distributed before is to hear back from you.
Right.
So
That's the whole point.
it's helpful to hear back from you when you have comments.
Well, and also, I think some things I would like to mention to the rest of you. I think this is one of them. It's very relevant to the discussion that we had earlier.
All right, so we're going to move that for the next meeting. Now we're going to go to item number 17.
Discussion and possible action requested by Mayor Leonard and Councilmember Yaffe to name a room in the community center in honor of former Mayor Eileen Wallace, enclosed on the minutes, March 12th.
Yeah.
Move it.
I'd like to amend, because I mentioned in the newsletter, even though that originally as for former Mayor Wallace, I'd like to include Charles Wallace also. I think that Chuck and Eileen both contributed significantly to the betterment of our town for decades. I mean, we're not even going to go into years here. And I think both their names, not just the fact that Chuck just passed away, but also they both contributed significantly to the betterment of our community. I think both their names would be prominently mentioned and placed in for one of the rooms. I think that would be proper.
I will amend it. But so you wanted to say in honor of former Mayor Eileen Wallace and Chuck Wallace?
Let the town work.
Yeah, the town would, yeah, they'll,
Okay.
But I just also want to note, I mean, I support that, somebody was asking why do we have the minutes of the meeting from 2012, and one of the reasons, besides everything that, Eileen accomplished in her years in the council, that it was very important to Morris Broad, who we honored by naming the community center, that Eileen would be recognized for her contributions with respect to the school and the community center and so forth. So as a matter of background, I thought it was important that we all had the opportunity just to see what the minutes said from that meeting when Morris was here and spoke to us.
I'd like to add something. First, that Eileen, Mayor Wallace, when you first told me the idea that you had and your vision for the library there, I didn't like it. I said, no, I don't want a library. I'm thinking community center. And, I just kind of reacted like that. And then what it has evolved into, I think is really just perfect. So I just want to thank you for sticking to your guns. And I know you did a lot of work, and I know you contacted a lot of people outside the town, and I hope you're happy with the result. And the other thing is that since the property on King Concourse, where we usually have the picnic, may be sold at some point, and we might be looking, I was thinking, and I mentioned to Ron at the dedication, that maybe we want to look at that street, just like we have those events there, that might be a possible site for future picnics, and then we have the grassy area right there, and we have our community center. And at least that there may be a, maybe by this picnic in April or March, whenever we have it, might be a good opportunity to have the dedication of this room.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Eileen, do you want? Of course. Come on.
Hi, guys.
This has been a doom and gloom meeting so far, but I've got to bring some sunshine in here. Let's see, Kelly, you weren't on the council yet, but we started with the coalition way back, so you're included in this. Josh, I think you were a gleam in our eye. We didn't know about you yet, but other than that, everybody in this room was involved with the seed that I had in my head that I discussed with Chuck, and he says, oh, you're crazy, you're not going to go anywhere, the school board's not going to participate, but look where we are. God bless every one of you. You have been spectacular. I am so grateful for everybody's help, for the council, for helping guide us through this, through the county, through the library system, through the school board system. Remember Rudy Crew? He was amazing back then. So I'm so grateful that we have this gem, and I'm sure it's going to be put up for an award, right?
Actually, one of them came in.
You already got an award for?
No.
You all know that the parking garage got an award.
Yes.
And I think it was submitted to the state. I don't know how we did well in the state.
The State Builders Association for mixed use.
Yeah. So we're on the right track. And as far as what you said, I said to Ron the other day, take that vacant lot right next to the community center, make it part of the whole environment so everybody can go and enjoy it. That's a suggestion I had. You got that one whole entity, you've got the school over here, and the picture is magnificent. I know that there's other stuff going on, but that's my suggestion. And my teammate, Chuck, thanks you as well. We were a team, and we worked really hard, and you guys are continuing the tradition, so I'm a happy Chuck. Thank you.
I want to let you know that because we are a K-8 center, and you definitely were a procuring factor to that, we are one of the top K-8 centers in the state, and we have been for the last couple years. And that started with the seed from you and Chuck. I remember sitting with you guys and talking about it. So really, the school owes you, and the children owe you, gratitude, because they are able to stay here through the most difficult times, the teenage years. So they thank you also.
Thank you.
All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There you go. All right, very good. So, now we're going to move on to item number 3.
3 or 9?
9.
Sorry, don't go back. Sorry, wrong. 9. We're finally on order.
Consideration and approval of an ordinance on second reading requested by Councilmember Yaffe, amending Section 5-5 of the Town Code to clarify the provisions of construction expense requirements.
An ordinance of the Town of Bay Harbor, Islands, Florida, amending Section 5-5 of the Bay Harbor, Islands Town Code with regard to the regulation of construction site operations, to expand the definition of construction site, and to include a requirement for a separate permit for construction site fences, providing for penalties, providing for severability, providing for publication, providing for an effective date.
I'll move it.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Any comment? Roll call.
Councilmember Fuller,
4.
Councilmember Reed, 4. Councilmember Salver,
4.
Councilmember Yaffe,
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder, 4. And Mayor Leonard.
4.
Unanimous.
Let me ask you, number 10 was by Councilmember Tricochet. She's not here today.
Let's defer.
You want to, normally we've deferred in the past ones.
No, this is on second reading.
Oh, it's second reading.
Very, very simple.
You know what? Okay, let's go ahead. Yeah.
Consideration and approval of an ordinance on second reading requested by Councilmember Tricochet regarding the requirement to have a construction trailer come before council for approval.
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Bay Harbor, Islands, Florida, amending the town's code of ordinances as related to temporary construction trailers and temporary sales trailers offices, amending Section 5-5 of the Building and Construction Code to establish additional regulations for temporary construction trailers and temporary sales trailers office.
I'll move it.
Providing for clarification of an effective date.
Very good.
I'll move
All right,
it.
we have a motion and a second. All right, any comment? We have Mr. Maya.
Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street. I come to talk on this item because somebody withdrew item number 16 on your agenda related to houseboats being used as construction trailers. And because it was being used as a construction trailer, I felt it was appropriate to talk about that here. And I understand that this is a second reading, but I think it would be very clear and easy for you all to go ahead and put a little line in what you're doing here now, and if you have to come back, to say houseboats cannot be used as construction trailers. The houseboats are an eyesore. They would be not only visually impacting views from buildings, but they also, because they're going to have to be lighted on all four corners, present a lot of light pollution as well for residents that would be abutting properties where the houseboat would be used as a construction trailer. So I think it's very important that we address this issue straight on and not just withdraw it and bring it back, withdraw it and bring it back, because the whole houseboat issue came along with a memo from Mr. Miller, who spent a considerable amount of time and research, and I don't know if that memo generated came under the... Okay, but was that under the retainer, or is that going to be invoiced separately? I don't know. Okay, but the point is that there was a whole lot of stuff that was done and generated on this houseboat issue, and that does impact properties that are going to be next to those that are going to be developed that are on the waterfront. And so here we are dealing with the construction trailer. The houseboat was going to be proposed as a construction trailer, and I think that here you have an opportunity to just address that, in one fatal swoop. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. No comment, roll call.
Councilmember Yaffe?
4.
Councilmember Sauber?
4.
Councilmember Reed?
4.
Councilmember Fuller?
4.
Vice Mayor Bruder?
4.
Mayor Leonard?
4.
Passes unanimously.
All right, number 11.
Item 11, consideration and approval of an ordinance on first reading requested by Councilmember Reed, amending Section 5-5 of the Town Code with regard to the use of off-duty police officers at construction site.
I'd like to move it with one minor change.
Just to read it first.
Oh, sorry.
An ordinance of the Town of Bay Harbor Islands, Florida, amending Section 5-5 of the Bay Harbor Islands Town Code with regard to the use of state-certified flaggers and off-duty police officer at construction sites, providing for penalties, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
Yes, Kelly.
I'd like to move with one minor addition that I talked to Ron about already, where it says, in the one changes, or any other activity as may be required by the town manager. I want it to be clear as or his designee. For example, if it's late at night and, whoever the on-duty police commander is should also have that authority.
I'll
However you
second
want to word
that change.
Thank you.
I have a question. Do other municipalities have this type of regulation in place?
Okay.
Anybody? Hello?
I can tell you off the top of my head, it wouldn't be surprised me if they did have some kind of guidelines. Usually it's at the discretion of the manager, or if it affects traffic in any such way. We're pretty liberal here. I think we've had, probably by now, we're over 300 times we've used police officers at construction sites. And generally, it follows these we've always kind of used this as these guidelines which we're putting in here now. It's really going to impact traffic. You're going to shut down the street. You're building a crane, you're putting it up, you're having heavy deliveries that the street will be impacted. So, for us, this is good, no problem.
I think the thing is just to have it in the language, and they still decide, but if there's a violation, then they have something to violate them on. Before, they couldn't do anything about it if they chose not to do it. They were getting a suggestion at the DNC meeting, so this way it just gives it a little teeth, that's all.
Is this going to, is this going to have a financial impact on the stakeholders in the...
Quite frankly, we do it already. I mean...
We do this already?
Yeah, we do it already.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. No
It's also
discussion.
it's a safety issue, so if it has a...
If they did something where they didn't have a cop and caused a commotion on the street, or they put backing traffic up, they would get violated, which is the same cost of having a cop. And, believe me, they would rather have a cop.
Okay. All right, full vote?
Councilmember Fuller?
4.
Councilmember Reed?
4.
Councilmember Sabra?
4.
Councilmember Yaffe?
4.
Stephanie, I guess, is not in the room. Mayor Leonard?
4.
Unanimous.
Yeah, she's left-leaning.
Thank you.
Item number 12.
Discussion and possible action regarding the installation of 2 digital message boards on King Concourse, Causeway Island. There's some proposed designs that I submitted, one by Graphic, the other one by Stewart Signs. Stewart Signs is the company that did the one in Miami Shores, which has been mentioned a few times here. The proper way of actually, that I would, of doing this would be to actually get a design, or somebody to design it, and then put it out to bid and get bids to come in. But I was just trying to see more or less what direction the council wanted to as far as a style, design, because the two companies that I spoke with, one won't do what the other one does. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm trying to...
No, I don't understand. No, I don't understand.
No, like for example, like the sign, they have different products.
They'll design them differently, so we have to choose the sign. No, I think you've got the right approach. Bless you. Thank you. I think we should choose a sign. The only question I would have right off the bat, though, is we have not made a determination as to the exact locations, and so isn't that going to affect both the size, the design, and so forth, especially on the Causeway?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I apologize. I was under the impression that was the location of...
Yeah.
We thought we did. We were pretty sure on that, but also on the Causeway, the exact spot and location, we were back and forth a little bit.
On the Causeway, I have there's more leeway for me.
Right, but I would think we'd want to potentially look at a different size or something on the Causeway. We have to figure out where we're putting it as well, so...
I think we have a spot right by, when you're going eastbound, when you're passing close to the gas station, there's an area where behind these bushes, I forget what they're called. Kusha.
By the dock.
By the dock. It really lends itself to being the perfect spot as you're coming around. You get a good view of that before you make your final approach to the bridge. And the bushes actually kind of back.
You're talking right at the curve, right there, but...
It kind of gives you, it really it would make the sign stand out.
You mean near the sign that always tells me to slow down?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of like where the sound is.
One that says you're going too fast.
That's a good point.
For me, it always says slow down.
You'll have to slow down in order to read it, So, I didn't plan on having a bigger sign out there and a smaller sign on King Concourse. That was the idea. I was going to get 2 of the exact same signs.
Can we look at that for the Causeway Island? Because I remember mentioning that previously, that's really important to have a sign on the Causeway Island,
I agree.
I want it pretty visible, and if it's slightly larger, whatever it is, it might, I'm not talking about huge, but something would make it slightly larger there.
That's fine.
That might get better.
Yeah, you have more leeway there, because it's just...
Yeah, I absolutely, but I wanted to match the other side as well. So, following up on what you just said, so if the council is in agreement as to the locations, then would you then go out to bid instead of us approving option 1? No, if you guys, listen, the council can approve what they want, but, and as far as the procurement policy that we've been discussing today, I would get it engineered. I'd have to get one of our engineers to engineer it, and get me some specs so I can put it out to bid so that everybody can bid on the same thing.
Right.
Apples to apples. If I were to go and say, all right, bid on this one here, like option A, then, that would give an unfair advantage to...
All right. So let's look at the designs. Let's look at, as far as...
If that's
It's an
okay.
aesthetic
I don't want
issue.
to-
Personally, I like option 1.
Which option 1? There's actually 2 option 1s.
Right,
That was the way it was
Yeah,
labeled.
just the first option, like page 1. Page 1, option 1.
Right.
Oh, the
With the Bay Harbor Islands up top. With the
Yeah, Bay Harbor
I
and the
agree.
logo at the top like that, just like that.
that's the smaller, on that side, that one would probably be the best one, because it's 7 feet high, and it's not as big as the other one.
No, I agree with you. I like that one. I like Bay Harbor Islands on top.
Yeah, no, it's pretty, it's kind of...
Now, since...
We need that angle,
Sorry?
That one
No,
has
no.
like an angle with, it's too much.
Distracting.
Right.
Let me also
Simple.
ask you, we also have a sign in the median that says, welcome to Bay Harbor Islands. Are we going to have 2 two signs, because the first one just says like, welcome, and it
Yeah,
has the seal.
that one just has the seal and it lights up, and then this one would have the actual message.
We want them to be sure they know where they are when they get there.
Yeah, and that on both sides, you're not gonna forget.
Exactly. No, leave it for now, and if we ever change it, we wanted to remove the other one, we can remove it.
Not a big deal.
Exactly.
The one in the middle is,
It's fine, it's not, exactly.
I don't even know if people notice that one.
Well,
But it's got to be official, so they know that the announcement comes from the town and,
All right, so, but anyway, that, I just wanted to give you and I put the prices in there so you know what we're kind of dealing with.
so you're gonna bring us back with the...
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to go now and get,
Very good.
One of the costs
get
is
an engineer.
bigger, right? One of the costs, that's what we're talking about, if he can make it slightly larger. and-
2 stories.
Not slightly larger, I would say significantly.
For the
larger.
lobby?
there has to be some kind of standard with traffic because, you drive slower in the town and you stop at that red light, so I think it can be a little smaller. But, based on the legal speed limit of the causeway,
96 speed limit?
since we have the choice, I'm sure that there is some kind of a, technical standard of, for street
is.
signage, maybe FDOT can help with that.
There is actually.
Okay.
So, all right. So we're gonna bring that back.
So, yeah, I'll bring it back, but I'll focus on option 1 if that's okay.
Please, that'd be great.
All right, number 13.
It says poll vote, do we need a poll?
No,
vote?
but
Because we're not approving the expenditure yet.
Consideration
Consideration and approval of a contract extension on LMK Pipe Renewal LLC in the amount of $200,000 for the installation of T-liner for 68 sewer laterals to reduce infiltration into the sanitary sewer collection system.
I'll move it.
I have
It's the same T-liner that...
We tried.
No, but my question is, now that you've given us this memo, and I see that we've been doing this since 2007, is this the end run? Because for how many years are we going to be lining these? Because the whole purpose is to avoid, the leakage and the infiltration, and we're saving money and so forth, but, how many more of these are there to do?
It's about 800 in the town, and because it clearly only 68 at $200,000, we TV'd, or we televised all of the laterals. We went to the worst first. And I think once a year, we do a night flow isolation test. And if we see greater flows, like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, we know we have problems in a certain area, and we focus, we target the areas where we get the most infiltration. We keep track of it. I think we're a little over 300, so we're getting close to halfway done. I think last year when we went to Tallahassee, we were asking to put up, we were willing to put up $1 million if we got a $1 million match, and we were going to knock them all out. We didn't get the money, so, it doesn't mean we're not going to stop. We're going to keep working at it, but not to kill everybody.
Without getting money from the state, this will just be going on forever, basically.
Until they're all done.
Until they're all done.
Like a small bite.
Right, okay.
Ron, the first groups that we did in like 2007, 2008 or whatever, are you completely happy with those?
Well, I don't know that if we've re-televised them. I would imagine that we've... Oh, yeah, no, when they're installed, absolutely.
No, I'm saying like now,
Is it last 7 years, 10
Have they-
Have
years
we gone back
later?
and just done a courtesy
Like,
check?
what is the
Yeah,
lifespan?
I mean, just do a sample, just do a
Right.
sample
Oh, absolutely.
scoping of them.
Yeah, oh, okay. I
Just take a look and make sure that this is, because I know when we first contracted with these guys, it was kind of newer technology with the,
Right.
with the top hat type of seal and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Maybe it would behoove us to go and do like a sampling of, maybe 10 or 15
Yeah,
of the
absolutely.
ones that we did earliest to see if they're doing what they said they're doing.
I could easily have that for next meeting, just to, as a report back.
And as far as this company goes, you said it was the sole source.
Basically,
Yeah.
Have you, T-lining, which is not the same as the outfall, we talked about this earlier.
The outfall is different. The outfall is just a liner that you
It's like when we line the sewer mains, it's the same theory, it's just a straight pipe.
Right.
They go down and they cut out the,
a couple of different companies.
Yeah, but when was the last time you checked? Are you sure? Because I think this is an emerging kind of a field.
With the lining?
Yeah, the T-liner.
No, not T-liner. The T-liner is the sewer lateral, like the first sewer.
Right, but you're pretty certain, I'm asking when the last time you checked if there were other companies that did this?
The T-liner product?
Yeah.
Is only, it's only LMK if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. LMK, although,
Happy New Year to all. LMK is a proprietary product. It's, there's another company out in, not locally, that can do it. LMK is the only local company in the state of Florida that can do that kind of work. That T-line of work, exactly.
Okay.
So, they are currently, I mean, in my memo, I try to show that they still currently have a contract with Plantation that we used the last time to sort of extend it again. The prices have been great. We have in fact looked at some of the previous work. I can come up with a more complete analysis and inspection of previous work over the last 9 years or so. But we've, you know, we kind of check to see that they're doing good, the line is holding up before we go forward. So,
Great.
but I just answered the question, yes,
Yes.
it's proprietary.
Thank you very much.
They're probably on the state list. You gotta think.
I would think so. I mean, I've had
Probably.
everybody, T-line is not just us using them.
No, I know that. What I'm saying is they're probably already on the state list, and that would make this all moot anyway, so.
I saw them in my alley last week in Hollywood. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it, you know.
We one of the
this is
first
pretty common.
municipalities to ever use them as a prime. They've always been a sub, and to that, they've really always been grateful to us and have given us
I
support.
know, this is what they do. All right, so we have a motion?
I think it's been moved in second.
Is there a motion?
There was a motion from Isaac, no second.
Wait, I'm sorry, I was not doing my job.
All right, so
There's public comment.
So there's a motion, a second?
There's no second.
Who's going to second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a
Okay,
second.
thank you.
Mr. Meyer, come on up.
Victor Maya, 1155 103rd Street. If, according to the memo, the price per T-line is $3,370, and we're doing 68 of them, that comes out to $229,160. So here you are seeking an amount not to exceed $200,000. So you don't have enough here, you know, what you're approving, you know, doesn't, you know, match, you know, the math just doesn't work, number one. Number two, my question was going to be, how many are there left? You know, and if we have 500 to go, well, you know, how much would it cost if we did 100 or 150 or 200? You know, maybe you can get a price better than the $3,370. I don't know. It sounds like they may have a monopoly on this, but, you know, after, you know, 7, 8, 9 years of this, I'm sure there are other companies that provide similar type products that get you to do the same thing. Maybe, maybe not. But my point is that the math doesn't add up. Why don't we look at sort of a longer, you know, take a longer view of this, you know, to try to get it done, especially if we don't even know if the ones that we installed 7 years ago are doing what we think they're doing. So to me, it seems to be more prudent before we accept up to $200,000 on something that's not going to add up math. Let's confirm, A, that what was done 7 years ago is still good, and then B, maybe we can get a better overall deal as opposed to piggybacking off of what, you know, the town of Plantation did, you know, in 2015, which is what the memo says. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion, a second.
Well, do we want to make that contingent upon what we mentioned in the little running the camera check, instead of having it come back here, just since Randy said he was going to do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make it more
We'll do a camera check, but I think Randy did say that we do look at them when we're in an area, if we do
Yeah, but just
re-inspect.
what you said you were going to do a moment ago, I would just say that's fine.
Did they discount the amount?
No, what he was saying, and he said that it didn't come across in the memo, is that in this current fiscal year, there was some leftover funds, some carryover funds.
Oh, so we only had to allocate 200, we had some cash left over from prior.
And then that was in the carryover memo that was approved in the previous.
Exactly.
Got it.
All right, Molly? Yep.
Councilman Yaffe?
4.
Councilmember Sauber?
4.
Councilmember Reed?
4.
Councilmember Fuller?
4.
Mayor Leonard?
4.
Unanimous.
Number 14.
Item 14, change order 26 to M&J Construction of Pinellas County, appropriated in the amount of $372,274.58 for the milling and resurfacing of the Intercoastal Waterway Bridge. As you know, back when Chicane Conquest was being resurfaced, we planned on doing all the bridges. FDOT gave us prices for that. We pulled the ICW off because of the work that was currently being done. It was roughly $499,000. We recovered most of that money, minus the design costs, which covered all the entire project. So, we recovered, as I said, we recovered most of that money, which was about 625 out of 625,000. So, it was recommended by our engineers that we use the current contractor in place for several reasons. One is if we were to discover any kind of issue with the bridge as they were building it off, the people that we would have fix it are M&J. They're already on site, so it was always my intention to have them to do this with them, while they were still on site. God forbid we did have a problem. They said that they would go out to bid. They used they went out to bid and got 3 separate general asphalt companies for that. You see that in your paperwork. The price that they're quoting is $372,274. Is about $127,000 less than what we were going to pay originally. The most costly part of this is actually the expansion joints, which are very critical. You feel them when you go down the road, the bump every time you go over a panel. That has to be done and done well. It was in the original contract with M&J. We took it out because we weren't doing the work. We were going to do it separately. So it's our recommendation to use them as the contractor of record and sub out, the asphalt work.
All right, so we have a motion and a second?
Is this the last thing that gets done, or is there anything else after that?
There's still work, there's still have some more work. They have to march to complete painting and steel work on the underneath. Doesn't affect traffic.
What about the lamps?
Yeah. Oh, the lamps that will be going in. The ones that are damaged or they're no longer, they look like they're covered with a big plexiglass thing. They've cast them. We actually paid for that. It's part of the job to recast those inserts. And then we have replacement of the lenses, which it's an acrylic product that looks like glass. It's not transparent, but it's very hard to break. It's one of the issues we had. But most of those things you see there, it's not because it was age, it was actually vandalism. So these things will be a lot harder to break.
So there'll be uniformity then when that's done?
Right. First 30, if it goes well, we'll probably replace the other 30. I think there's 64 of them. Just the lenses. A lot of them are in good shape. It's really just it's about 15 of them, I believe, or I'm not sure the exact number off the top of my head. But they will replace what now looks like missing lights. Right now you just see a bulb with a piece of plastic over it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And in reference to the striping and the paving, are we still going to have the lane chevrons?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
And we're going to oversee the striping process very carefully this time?
Yeah.
It's hard to go wrong on the bridge, right? You can't
Well, they did
long.
temporary marking and they got it straight, so I'm
Okay, well, that's
hoping that, yeah.
All right, so can I have a motion, please?
I'll move it.
And a second. All right.
No, the motion fails.
Right. You want to second it? Okay.
I'll second
You
it.
second it? Okay, all right, there you go. All right. Come on.
You don't want to hear me? I'll just go back.
All right, come on.
Been seconded.
I'm not down.
Yeah.
This is being referred to as a change order, but it's a whole new project, and it's being done out of convenience. And frankly, I don't know that we're really getting a good deal from these people. This is a just in case, some disaster strikes, when they're, paving the asphalt here. There are, hundreds of asphalt companies, and they say, well, we bid it out. Well, these guys, they didn't bid it out necessarily to our standards, frankly, I am getting tired of, change orders here, and this one especially because of convenience. I mean, we can wait until these guys are long gone and then pave the whole thing. And if they did what they're supposed to have done, there will not be any problem when they pave it. The bridge will still hold up. There won't be a problem or an issue, and we'll get a much better deal. I'm not so sure that you're getting, the best deal here. You're saying, well, we're saving all this money based on something that was done in, 5 years ago or whatever, but that's not really necessarily the case. I think it's, potentially just a lot of smoke and mirrors, and, hey, you've all, rubber stamped every single, change order that has come through here, on the bridge, with these folks, so here's just one more, to do it on something that, there are, literally hundreds of contractors that can do this. Thank you.
Well, did you find some issues under the, or not you, but did our contractor find some issues under the pavement and other areas of the bridge, which was a concern?
Absolutely. We've done a lot of spalling repair on the above deck, and we actually replaced part of one panel. As a matter of fact, Al Bance is here from Hardesty. He might want to come up and just reiterate some of the reasoning.
Was closed because there was a hole there or something, which they had to,
Yes.
sort of rebuild that or something.
The idea here is we intend to mill down anywhere from 1.5 inches to 2 inches and replace it with 1 inch.
Right.
The recommendation is to remove 1 inch of asphalt off the bridge, which is a lot of weight, and that was the recommendation.
So the concern is that as you're milling and you take off those couple of inches,
Right.
you could
Because
find
we've seen- yeah.
some conditions under there that would require
Right.
the expertise of the contractor who's
Right.
rebuilding the bridge.
Yes.
Is that?
Are those, first of all, are there hundreds of contractors that can actually work on an intercoastal waterway bridge and change the joints and pave the thing at the
No.
same time?
No, absolutely.
I mean, I'm presuming that there are incredibly limited amounts of contractors that can work or are permitted to work by Durham and all that, and the Army
There-
Corps of Engineers or whatever on an intercoastal waterway bridge, right?
There's certain contractors that have the expertise in forming those joints, and they're here now, if they would like to come up and speak to that. The complexity of putting in a joint, which is basically building up the roadway to accept the asphalt, so that the road can expand and you don't wear down the joint to what we have right now, is when you go over it, you can actually see the road kind of cave down.
I don't think it's necessary for them to
Yeah,
come.
no,
This
so
is
we-
kind of
we'll
a
take the
unique
word.
situation bid-wise because, we're going with basically the overseers we know, and they have bid out the subcontractor, so we're approving $372,000, and only $70,000 of that is the asphalt, right?
Yes,
So,
as I said,
do
yeah.
they usually do that? Do they usually provide you 3 bids from the subcontractor?
No, we asked for 3
You
bids.
did? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
There's only certain contractors that I would be comfortable with. General is one of them, Weekly is another, the third one is the third one. There's certain people that we've seen work in town that are exceptional, and that's why we wanted to see bids from them. The joints that's where the real expense is, and the people that are here are doing the job, that is their work, which they specialize in. So, I would disagree that anybody can do this, anyway.
All right, so do we have a motion, a second?
Yes.
All right, can we have a roll call?
Sure.
Roll.
Councilmember Fuller,
4.
Councilmember Reed,
4.
Councilmember Sauber,
4.
Councilmember Yaffe,
4.
Mayor Leonard.
4.
Unanimous.
Number 15.
Item 15, approval of a water contract, BHI 173 to Stone Concept Miami Incorporated for the repair of the valley gutters and F-curb on 94th and 95th Streets on the West Island, the amount not to exceed $50,000.
I've got a couple of questions. Sure. So you've identified some for the low bid of 17,110. Have you identified the others, areas where you would go up to 50,000? I mean, you guys you've got a plan?
No, actually, well, where we actually are going to asphalt, that's our main target area. If we identify other areas that clearly need to be replaced, we could do that. The idea is to do that work ahead of the paving, because there is going to be, the roadway will be disturbed when you do it, so to do it too early. Quite frankly, some of the roadway that we're taking out, it's aesthetic more than anything. It's just cracked, it looks bad. And, the first phase, there was no, in the second phase too, we didn't use rebar, but we will be using that when we do any replacement, and it's just to stay ahead of keeping the gutters in the best shape we can. But we don't have a flow issue where we have water not getting through. So, and that was really it. This is a 14-year-old gutter, so.
Right, I know it needs to be done, I was just curious about the numbers, that's all. And then, have you gotten references on this company? Like, have they done this work elsewhere?
Randy, you want to come up? You can answer that.
Somebody sent me a little link about the company, which is apparently a very small company with not a lot of revenue.
I should get my file out. I forgot. I did get references because, like you, I had not heard of them before. We had actually put it out to bid and invited 3 bids, three contractors who work for us to make sure we got bids in because we wanted to get it on this agenda. Anyway, they came out in the blue really and gave us a price, and it happened to be a low bid. When I looked at their qualifications, they were FDOT approved, and they had done work for other developers. They're working for another municipality right now, and they seem to be legit. They had their licenses, and quite frankly, I mean, this was not hard work. It was a value. It really is not. It's,
I'm not, I don't know anything about this company, so I'm not saying but I remember when the community enhancements were being done, it wasn't hard work, but it had to be redone several times, like curbs and so forth. So I just want to make sure, that this is a company experienced in installing valley gutters and, so that we don't have an issue there.
I know what you're talking about. It was the sub on the main, on the concrete sub that the company used. And ironically, when we did the East Island, the contractor of record wanted to use the same subcontractor, and we absolutely refused. Said, there's no way that guy's working here. And, it was not a fight, but it was like, you're not going to proceed if you don't dump him.
Well, on phase 1, we had litigation, didn't we? Didn't we have retainage, and, we were completely...
I wasn't here for phase 1.
And let me tell you, have we already gone back to phase 1 and done, haven't we redone phase 1 already?
No, this is the
Some
first.
elements of it?
We're not talking about this, Jordan, we're talking about...
recently, within the past...
And a couple of years ago, there was an issue with sewer laterals. Yeah, we did asphalt because several houses had lateral sank, and we had to make sure that they had, they were correctly pitched. So we did that work, and because now we had like 4 cuts into the street, we decided to pave that street.
Also for the plants, we also did, that was redone also.
Landscaping.
Oh, landscaping, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Irrigation, that was phase 1 technically, we did.
There were a lot of little issues that had to be...
Yeah.
That was testing phase.
So Randy, do you know that they've installed valley gutters and have curbs in other communities and done them straight and done a good job on it? In terms of getting references?
Yes, the references I've talked to have all endorsed this contractor. I said, I mean, we
They will be bonded. They will be bonded.
I understand that. I'm just... Right. I just remember, like, in front of my house, that they had to put in the curbs and rip them out like 3 times. So I know it was a contractor we're not using anymore, but I just want to make sure that you have the references.
Let me tell you, all the valley gutters on like 97th Street and 98th Street, they're a little bit of a mess too. So, I'd hate to have the appearance of favoring the southwest island. Because I just, as soon as I read this, I got that, kind of feeling that, wow, we're really focused a lot on the aesthetics and the pavement and the curbs and the valley gutters of the southwest island. And I just hate to be, show any favoritism, financially or work-wise on the southwest island.
The oldest valley gutters, and they're clearly, actually, that area is, they're in the worst shape. If you looked at them pound for pound, it's
So,
more...
and I think, we should really kind of do an inventory of all the valley gutters and show, maybe, publicize a broader plan to replace all the valley gutters that are inferior.
Well, this is only 17,000, why don't we have...
No, it's not 17,000. It's 17,000. Right, this is 50K.
It's up to 50, we're giving him a little leeway to go.
Oh.
We budgeted $50,000.
Yeah, but do you think they're gonna use the...
I don't want to, our plan is every year to do a section of the town.
No, I know
And
that,
to
but-
focus, the main focus will be on the area that is where we're going to be asphalting. 'cause
Yeah, but
that's-
there's some areas on the north side of the West Island that have been exposed to more, more trucks, more more wear and tear, that even though that the south side went first, there's some rougher sides on the north side too, so I'm just saying...
Yeah, I mean, we look at everything and we evaluate it, and if there's any issue where something is not working, obviously we will replace it.
We appropriate, how much did we appropriate for this in the budget?
$50,000.
Just 50, that's what it is.
Yeah. Now, you will understand also that, like, this would include when a truck goes around the corner,
Yeah,
that
I understand.
maybe doesn't, we don't know who did it, and we have to repair a P-top.
Right.
That's some of the
I
work.
sent you an email, not even a month ago on one on,
P-tops, I would like to do them in steel, if they could do them, because it doesn't matter how many, you could put brand-new ones in within a week, a truck could drive them.
You'll know which truck went in.
So how many linear feet?
400.
So how long, just to give me perspective, let's say from East Broadview to West Broadview and 94th Street, how many feet is that? Like the whole block?
94th?
How much is the whole block?
Well, look, this property is 75 feet long, 75 feet
Okay, yeah, I get it. Like on the the southwest island, like how many feet how many feet of valley gutter is there from East Broadview Drive to West Broadview Drive?
I have that number downstairs.
I mean, that's both sides of the road, that has to be in excess of
I can tell you, in the town, how
1,500
many
to
feet?
2,000 feet.
2,000.
Yeah.
And this
Both sides.
here we're only replacing how many feet with this?
400. Don't forget, we're only replacing areas that are
That
in bad shape. I'm not going to replace everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you're going to have, I mean,
Right,
it's going to be like a patchwork.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
But listen, everything over time will fade, and like the asphalt, you can put a patch in, and over time it fades to the other one.
Could you look on the north side of the West Island, because there's some places that are...
Right, and you do understand though, if we run ahead of ourselves and start replacing areas that we're not going to be asphalting, you will have areas of the street that are disturbed, that will have asphalt, but it'll look, it'll be chewed up, you'll have a ragged edge.
Demolition going on right there right
Yeah, I
now.
know.
Hold off until-
Yeah.
there's a lot of projects that are in the middle.
All right, so we have a motion and a second? No. All right, is there a motion?
Before you vote.
Yeah, is there a motion? No motion.
I'll second it.
No, there's no motion.
Yeah, you might.
I just moved it.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Okay, Mr. Meyer, come on up.
Victor Maya, it seems to me that, why don't you just let them do the work for the $17,000 and the 400 feet and see if it's any good before you go ahead and authorize them to do, 3 times as much. You don't know if it's any good or not. Why do it that way? And if you take a broader view and look to see, what is critical and what needs to be done, and if it entails a lot more, you might get more competitive bids for a larger project. So the range of these bids are limited to just the 400 linear feet. So if you had maybe 1,000 linear feet, or 2,000, or 3,000, or whatever, the bid might come in differently, and it might be something that, would be more competitive and would allow you to get more work done, and possibly, not lose any quality. So, to me, I think it's just a little bit, getting ahead of ourselves to say, all right, well, you can do these 400 linear feet for $17,000, and, okay, we have the other, but you can go up to 50. We have authority up to 50. Why don't you just wait and see how it's done? And maybe if you took a broader view, you might get better bids. It doesn't seem like this is, a critical emergency type project that needs to be done right away, and something that, we might be better off in the long run, as opposed to just doing it 400 feet, every year. At this rate, we'll be, we'll have all the T lines done before then.
But I think we're doing it in conjunction with, as Ron said, with repaving the road.
With repaving the road, and again, it would be not in the best interest of the towns to replace all of the gutter if it's not broken, just to say, and I think you're thinking it is of one section from one end to the other, 400 linear feet, and that's not what it is. It's sections that have been marked out, inspected, to be replaced.
Yep.
And you have to run that whole thing. That's the whole idea of doing the community enhancements, to keep ahead and just keep repairing.
No. But what I was going to say is that I understand that you have we have a sort of a plan going forward now that community enhancements is whatever the first stage was 13 years ago or whatever it is, of maintenance, so that we don't let the roadways get to the point that they were, where we hadn't done anything in 20 years or whatever it is, so that you're going to be repaving or resurfacing
every year
a couple of streets or whatever it is, so which is going to involve then doing more valley gutter work on an annual basis and doing the repairs before you repave. It certainly wouldn't hurt after you do the first 400 feet to make a determination. No, as Victor said, that you're satisfied with the quality of that work before we spend any more.
I have news here. We'll know after 20 feet.
Right.
I don't need 400 feet to understand that. We will know right away.
But just so you know, the intent is to have water contract for $17,000. Nothing, $50,000, and they don't even know that. This is between us.
Well,
if they're working, but the contract that we're going to sign with Stone Concept is one, and not the amount of their bid.
Next time you present something like this, if you guys would just draw a picture, honestly, just draw a little graph, like something like a graph. Here, this is what we're doing, and just something.
I understand what you're saying, sure. You mean, like, in other words, just
something to sketch.
Take the map and just
just
color in where we're talking about.
Yeah.
We had done it because we had zoned the entire town out into 7 zones, so that every 7 years you can go in and do.
Could you do that? Could you give us a copy of that? Just put it in our packet? Sweet.
We'll get it for the next one.
It's not.
Just put it in our packet.
It's a good thing for us to review.
Yeah, just so we can see it.
Put it on in there for the mail.
Just in our packet, yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to see it.
Okay, so just so you know, when this project is bid out, all contractors were sort of told, hey, this is not 200 feet of work you're going to do. We have a lot. So they have the understanding that there's an extension that they can get, and if their work is good, there's more work to be done. And their prices are actually quite competitive, because generally we would pay $100 a foot for the same work. So we knew that their price was quite a good price.
That's good.
Let's see how they can do this now for that price. So.
All right, Marlene, full vote?
Yeah, that's overselling. Councilmember Yaffe?
4.
Councilmember Sauber? Councilmember Reed?
4.
Councilmember Fuller?
4.
Mayor Leonard?
4.
It's unanimous.
All right, number 18.
Discussion and possible action requested by Councilmember Reed to establish the Public Service Honor Code for town officials and employees. Closed is a memo from Miami-Dade Resolution supporting the documents.
Kelly?
I had wanted to just put this on the consent agenda, and I became aware of this when I attended the Dade League Best Practices. I think we all talked to Joe as we went by the booth, and I didn't see it, get put on in November, and I just thought it was a good idea. Basically, for those in the audience who are interested, it just encourages employees and others to bring, activity to the forefront. And so I had asked that it get modified for Bay Harbor, but I was asked to bring it back for discussion first.
I'm in favor. We can put it on for first reading next month.
It's not, it's a resolution.
Yeah, it's a resolution. I had asked for it just on the consent agenda, but I guess...
Okay, so it'll come up for next month?
Yeah, put it on the consent agenda next
Yeah,
month.
I was going to do it this
All right,
month,
good.
but for some reason it's different than all the other resolutions.
Okay. Number 19.
Discussion and possible action requested by Mayor Leonard to establish a policy for local businesses who wish to advertise on the town newsletter, including home businesses.
All right, I'm gonna sound like Bob. Somebody actually got me walking down the street and asked me about this and said that they felt slighted that they're a resident and they have a home business and they were not able to advertise in the town newsletter. And I had them inquire with the town, with Marlene, and told that, that there was a restriction in regards to that. So I asked, she asked if it could be changed, and I said, I would bring it up for discussion. So that's what I'm doing. So
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
If you have a home business. Sure.
Now, if they have a home business, do they have to have a business tax receipt?
Yes.
So
Yeah, so there's a restriction that I wanted to bring up,
Yeah,
because
please.
when people put an advertisement in the newsletter, usually they put the address of the business. That is not allowed under the home
Yeah.
licenses. So there's nothing prohibiting them from putting an advertising and posting their website and their phone number. If they're not going to be able
Yeah, I
to put their home address.
Yeah, not the address, but the phone. Yeah, I think that's very clear.
we don't want a steady stream of clients going into the residential area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's prohibited.
Yeah, I don't prohibit. And
Also,
that's not
I was-
necessarily her intent. I think that she just wanted to be able to advertise.
Yeah, we explained that to her. Also, my recommendation was to make this a resolution so that we have something that we can give to people that I think Bridget and Ron worked on the policy, but we can add the home license and make it very clear and put it in a form of a resolution and bring it for the
Okay,
next meeting.
can we approve, we can just approve that, for her and anyone
For
else?
home businesses.
And then next
Yes.
month, we'll just put it as a resolution to codify it in that form.
Right.
Okay? All right, everyone agree?
Ma-
All right, nothing else, then, can I have a motion?
Mayor, before you go, I just want to make mention that,
You're killing me.
not killing you, Marlene, I asked Marlene to come to this meeting tonight, and if anybody doesn't know, she had
Yes.
her father passed away just recently. And as a favor to me, she came in here. I just wanted to thank her for coming tonight.
You are condolences again. Thank you. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
And a second? All right, we are adjourned at 9:15.
All those under the second quarter.